we say Namaha. Jai Shri Gurudev. Well, we feel very happy and very honored to be here today. And our heart is warmed by such a kind welcome by our hosts here. I was seated here while everyone was taking lunch, and I didn't know who Ravi was at that time, and I thought he was. I observed him speaking to some persons here, and then I was watching him vacuuming the carpet here. And I was thinking, what a nice gentleman, what a nice Hindu gentleman. And this is my first time here, and when you come somewhere for the first time, you always feel a little uneasy, you're adjusting to a different environment, you don't know who the people are. But he addressed me in a sweet way, and he made me feel at home. I didn't know who he was, actually. And then I saw him vacuuming the floor, I thought he's a caretaker here. But I didn't know who he was, but I thought, oh, he's a real devotee, he's a real bhakta, he has a sadhu heart. And I was reflecting how actually our real connection with divinity is through the devotees of God, not directly through God, but through the followers of God, through the devotees of God, because I came here to the temple. And I'm very happy to pay my respects to the deities here, to their lordships, but I'm not a realized soul. I cannot pretend that I'm able to talk to Shri Radha Krishna, I'm able to talk to Sita Ram. I cannot communicate with them. I'm living as an embodied soul. I'm living on the level of my senses, this body, this mind. I'm not able to have direct transactions with divinity. And so we understand that our real connection is through the devotees who we can communicate with and observe observe their example. We can observe how divinity is being expressed through them in a tangible way. So I was observing Ravi and I was thinking all these things, that he's a devotee, he's faithfully serving the deity here, and his heart is being transformed by that, and so divinity is actually being expressed through him. I'm experiencing an expression of divinity through my exchange with him. So I was reflecting upon this and how actually we find throughout the scriptures many places where the Lord declares that my devotees, they are superior to me, actually. People become afraid when you speak about being a servant of God. Nowadays everyone wants to be independent, everyone wants to be number one, So the conception of becoming a servant of God is something frightening, especially in today's modern culture. But what is the other side of the coin? That if you can actually offer yourself wholeheartedly to the Lord, He will also offer Himself to His devotee. It's a two-sided, there's two sides here, So there's one verse spoken by Lord Narayan to Durvasa Muni, Aham bhakta pradino hyasvatantra eva dvija sarubir bhagasta hridayo bhakter bhakta janapriya. That the Lord is telling Durvasa, actually it's as if I have no independence. I am not independent, but I am bound by the love of my devotees. My heart has been captured by the love of my devotees. I'm actually the slave of my devotees. That is my position. People worship me as being, the Supreme Lord, but I'm not independent. I'm bound by the love of my devotees. So important is the position of the devotees in our lives and our approach. And so I wanted to talk a little about Lord Chaitanya. And, I was thinking, I'm coming to a Vedic temple. I'm going to be speaking to people who know about the culture and teachings of the Vedas much better than me. So what can I actually tell them? And I thought, well, we can say something about Lord Chaitanya, because Lord Chaitanya is someone who is quite hidden, actually. in my experience, most Indians, they haven't heard of Lord Chaitanya. They're not. If you go to Bengal, of course, it's different. Everyone's very familiar with Lord Chaitanya. But in other parts of India, he's not so well known. And so our path is focused upon Lord Chaitanya and his divine message. So I thought, let me share something about that. And it's also relevant to how we began, because Lord Chaitanya is we consider him to be an avatar of the Lord, but he's a very special avatar and very unique in the sense that he comes in a hidden way, because he does not come presenting himself as God. He comes presenting himself as a devotee of God. He comes to demonstrate how one can actually be a real devotee of the Lord. So he is sometimes referred to as the hidden avatar. He is actually mentioned in different places throughout the Vedas, but in this veiled kind of way. So it is mentioned sometimes Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan, he is referred to as Sriyukta, indicating that he only appears in 3 ages. I'm not exactly sure. We have, I think, a bit of a mixed audience. Some persons are very familiar with these subject matters, and maybe a few persons aren't completely familiar. But it's mentioned in the Vedas that this mundane manifestation, it moves in a cycle of 4 different ages. It's a perpetual cycle that always goes on. And for each of these ages, it is described that the Lord appears for the purpose of propagating the particular dharma, the particular religion of the age. And so we recognize Lord Chaitanya to be the avatar, the Yuga avatar for this particular age, known as the age of Kali. Kali, which means quarrel, the age of quarrel, the last of these 4 ages in this cycle. So we recognize Lord Chaitanya to be the avatar for the age of Kali. He appeared about 500 years ago in Bengal, what is now called West Bengal. However, he is not very clearly described within the Vedas, and sometimes Lord Vishnu is referred to as Sriyukta, indicating that he descends to this world to spread the Yuga Dharma in only 3 of these 4 ages. But it is mentioned in one place in Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the principal Puranas, that the Lord does appear in the age of Kali, but in a hidden way. He is here, but in a covered way he appears. So it is not so clear to everyone, his divinity. So this point is mentioned. And then also, it is in Bhagavatam, but even in the Mahabharata, there is some hidden reference to Lord Chaitanya. Within the Vishnu Sahasranam, there is one verse there which is describing Lord Chaitanya. Suvarna Varna Hemango Varangas Chandanangadi Sanyasa Krichamashanto Nishta Shanti Parayana. And it describes him as coming with a very beautiful form and with a golden luster. And that it mentions there that he takes sannyas, he will take sannyas, to the renounced order. And it also describes him as being an abode of the highest peace and equanimity. So this is actually within the Vishnu Sahasranam in Mahabharata. And then also in Srimad Bhagavatam, the Purana Srimad Bhagavatam, there are other references. There's one place in the 11th canto where one Rishi, Karabhajan Rishi, he is describing the different avatars throughout the different ages. And then when he comes to describe the avatar for the age of Kali, then he gives this description: Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sangha Pangashtra Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtana Priya Yajantihi Sumedasa. which again, these references are kind of hidden. They're not directly spelling it out, but it describes him as having a non-blackish complexion, a non-blackish complexion, and we can deduce that his luster is golden by other references in Srimad Bhagavatam where different colors of the different avatars are described, and golden is mentioned there. And also Krishna Varnam can be understood to mean that he is always speaking about Krishna. He is always spreading the glories of Krishna, taking the name of Krishna. And then Yajanti, Yagnai, Sankirtana Priyer, Yajanti hi Sumedasa. That what is the particular sacrifice that he is coming to spread? What is the sacrifice by which the people of the age will worship this avatar? The sacrifice of Sankirtan. This is the particular sacrifice recommended for the age of Kali, for Kali Yuga. The practice of Sankirtan, the process of congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So this description is also given. So for one who has a searching eye, then they can see that there is some evidence given in the Veda of the position of Lord Chaitanya as an avatar in the age of Kali. And then the next question is, what is his gift? What is his message? What is he coming to tell us? What is he coming to give us? And you are all no doubt very familiar with what are given in the Vedic literature as the four ends of life. Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. These are considered to be the goals that all humanity should strive for. And actually, we can, if we look at these are 4 points which are identified within the Vedas and are followed by those who follow the Vedic teachings. But actually, if we look at any tradition throughout the world, these are the things that everybody is striving for, actually, whether they're putting these names on them or not. These are all universal things which persons of this world are striving towards. Dharma, the word dharma has a very broad connotation of meanings. But here we can say dharma meaning piety or duty, following one's particular duty within life, whatever that may be according to one's circumstances in this world. We all have some particular duty that we need to perform. So one's dharma, one's duty, artha, the acquirement of wealth, of improving one's economic status, and then kama, referring to sense pleasure, pleasure of the senses and all its myriad forms, and then finally moksha, liberation, the endeavor for liberation from this world. So these first 3 are more pertaining to our existence within this world, and then moksha, striving to become free from this world. So these are, no doubt, very respectable things and relevant things to our lives at present within this world. However, there is one limitation that each of these 4 goals has. And that is that each of these goals, they are relevant and pertinent to our existence within this world here and now. But then the question comes, what about a soul who's already liberated? What about a soul who is already free from their bondage, from their entanglement within this world? Then these 4 things are no longer relevant. No. One's duty, if we appreciate that we are eternal souls and we have been cycling through so many different bodies in so many different planes of life, then our duty at present is not absolute. It is a relative thing. And it is something that will change throughout the course of our journey within this mundane existence. So that is not an absolute thing. If one is existing within their liberated state as a spirit soul, then that what we can conceive of our duty at present it's not a relevant factor anymore. And then also for artha, for the acquirement of wealth, that's something that's only useful when you're in this world, and when you need money. When money is something meaningful and helpful. But again, if you're living beyond the conception of the body, if you're living beyond the relativity of this mundane world, then money is a useless thing. Money has no meaning at all. There's one very nice story that we heard from our Gurudev about Sanatan Goswami. He was one of the principal followers of Lord Chaitanya, and he did a lot of work to put Lord Chaitanya's teachings into writing. But he was a genuine saint and completely detached from anything of this world. And there's one incident when he was living in Vrindavan, and he lived very simply. He would live under trees, he would live on little buttermilk and maybe some dried roti, like that. Had no interest in anything of this world. And there was one occasion when one man came to him and said, "I've heard that you have a touchstone, one stone that can turn anything into gold that it touches." And so he asked Sanatan, he needed some money, and he heard that this Sanatan had this touchstone, so he requested, could I use that? And Sanatan, he thought for a moment, and he said, "I think I have it somewhere. If you go and look in that garbage heap over there, you might find it there somewhere at the bottom." And so that man, for a moment he was excited and he was turning to go and look for it. And then he thought, hang on a second, what wealth does this man have that makes a touchstone appear utterly insignificant to him? He must be in possession of actually he did go and he did find the touchstone. And then he went back to Sanatan and he inquired from him, what is it that you have that makes this touchstone appear so insignificant? You must have some higher wealth. And can you share that with me? I would like to have that wealth. This is a superior wealth. And Sanatan told him, I can give that to you if you like, but first you will have to throw that touchstone into the river there. Then I can teach you. Then I can share the superior wealth. So at present, money is something that appears very important to us. But many persons spend their whole lives just focused on that. Actually, financial success. But it's something, we have to remind ourselves of these things sometimes. That there's actually a plane of consciousness where that which we're putting so much attention to now appears completely insignificant. Not only insignificant, but undesirable, So in the liberated state, if one is living within the plane of pure consciousness and pure soul, wealth, material wealth, money, this is a very trivial thing. So again, this, of these four goals, this is no longer relevant once you're at the liberated platform. And then again, same thing goes for kama, for sense pleasure. Sense pleasure is only meaningful if you're living within this body. Sense pleasure is only meaningful if your senses are engaging with this world. It's only our senses that are enjoying the things of this world. For our soul, there's nothing there. There's no taste there. What our eyes, our ears, our, the sense of taste and so on, these things are enjoying. These things are engaging with the environment and finding excitement in so many things. But the soul is beyond all of that. There's nothing there for the soul. So again, the objective of kama, it becomes irrelevant once you're on the liberated platform. Well, thank you. So then we come to moksha. Now this is a trickier one. moksha has more dignity, right? Moksha is considered to be a very, righteous thing to aspire after. That's something that everybody will respect. Oh, I'm giving up this world, and I'm just trying to focus on moksha. Everybody will respect that. However, from the angle of what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give, from the angle of what is given by Srimad Bhagavatam, from the angle of bhakti, from the angle of devotion, moksha is also not a satisfying solution, actually. Because the aspiration for moksha is only a reaction to being entangled within this world. It is like if you're in prison, then you're aspiring to become free of prison, right? But if you get out of prison, then trying to get out of prison is no longer meaningful. So again, once somebody is already on the liberated platform, then the aspiration for moksha, the endeavor, the attempt to become free from the entanglement of this world, that becomes something meaningless. And then a more important point in this regard is that we need something positive within our lives. Just to try to become free from the negative side, that's not sufficient. You can strive to get out of prison, and then you can get out of prison, and then what are you going to put on your resume? I got out of prison. That's not very impressive. There's a dynamic society. There's so many positive activity. There's so much positive activity that's going on. What are you doing on the positive side? What type of a positive contribution are you making? It's not enough to say, I'm trying to get out of prison, or I got out of prison. That has its relative position. It can be appreciated in a particular context, but on a broader within a broader, context, that's not a very appreciable thing. And so we understand that, what is actually the goal of humankind, what is the real necessity, is divine love for the Lord. So prema. Lord Chaitanya came with this goal of Krishna prema, divine love for the Lord, and especially in his form as Sri Krishna. So this is sometimes referred to as Pancham Purushartha, the fifth of these 5 goals of humankind. And this is particularly presented in Srimad Bhagavatam. And we understand Srimad Bhagavatam to have been the final text that was prepared by Srila Vyasadeva, Krishna Dvaipayan, Veda Vyas. The Vedic literature, as you know, it is not the work of a single person. It is the revelation which appeared in the hearts of many different sages. But it was Srila Vyasadeva who organized all of that, and presented it in the way it has been presented, as we find it now. And so Vyasadeva, he did this work of compiling and organizing all of this revelation that had come through the hearts of so many sages. And he felt, at the conclusion of all of that, he felt dissatisfied. He felt like something is missing, that within everything that I've presented, and which is so much, he gave the 4 principal Vedas, he gave so many Puranas, he gave us the Itihasas like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, he gave the Upanishads, then finally he gave the Vedanta Sutra. So he gave so much, but still he was feeling that something is missing. And so at that time, he was contemplating in his ashram, where can I go from here? What can I do next? And at that time, his guru, Narada Muni, came to him, and he gave him some instruction. And he told him, actually, what you've done is you've given so much, but you've given something for people who are living within this world and who are identifying within this world. But you have not given anything for people who want to identify with their eternal position as spirit souls. No, you've given something for people within this world, but what about their existence beyond this world? That has not been given in so much clarity. There's been some hints here and there, but it has not been given in great clarity. And so he explained to him that you must give this, you must elaborate upon what is this fifth, this highest goal of life. You must elaborate upon this understanding that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we actually exist to engage in a relationship of love with divinity. And so with this inspiration, then Vyasadeva came to write Srimad Bhagavatam. And he gives the first 3 verses. There are some verses of introduction. And the 3rd verse, he speaks about this 5th goal of life. Nigama kalpa tador galitam phalam shuka mukha amrita drava samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam mohor ahorasika bhuvi bavuka. And a very wonderful analogy is given within this verse, that all of the Vedic literature is compared to a wish-fulfilling tree. Nigama kalpa tador. And what is the nature of that wish-fulfilling tree? That it can give you whatever you desire, and particularly within the categories of these 4 items, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So the Vedas can tell you how you can attain these 4 things. No. But then if we conceive of, let's take a mango tree. You have a tree, you have a mango tree. What is the real? Of course, every part of the tree has its use, has its function, has its contribution. But what is the real, ultimate purpose of that mango tree? It's to produce mangoes. And the production of a nice, juicy, tasty mango is what makes that tree successful. And so here in this verse, Srila Vyasadeva, he compares all of the Vedic instruction to a wish-fulfilling tree. But on that tree, there's a fruit. And that fruit is the message of divine love that is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. So we consider this to be the real end of the Vedic knowledge. This is where the Vedic knowledge is actually leading to this conclusion. And so Lord Chaitanya, he appeared in this world about 500 years ago, and he came to spread this message. And he spread Krishna prema, divine love for the Lord, as the highest goal of life, as the Pancham Purushartha, the 5th goal of life. And he also spread the movement of kirtan, and Sankirtan, as the highest means by which this goal of divine love can be achieved. And what strikes me so much is that that ultimately we all need love. Ultimately, love is the deepest. Not only do we need it, but it's our greatest necessity. Love is the thing that we all hanker for more than anything else. People can give up many things, but love is something that nobody can give up. So what Lord Chaitanya has come to give, and what Srimad Bhagavatam is giving, is the highest and the most pure ideal of love. Love is placed on its deserved throne, we can say, unobstructed by so many other distractions. There's one very beautiful prayer of Lord Chaitanya's where he expresses the purity in this ideal of love. Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam jagadisha kamaye mama janmani share bhavatad bhaktir haituki tvai. And he's expressing in this verse that in the light of this aspiration of pure love, everything that the world has to offer appears very negligible. not dhanam, the wealth of this world, not janam, followers, position, popularity, name and fame, not interested in that. Na sundarim, the company of beautiful ladies, or in a broader sense pleasure, no interest in that. And here kavita is a reference to moksha, liberation. I'm also not striving for liberation. Because actually, if we think about it, the aspiration for moksha, it is something that is self-centered, actually. That we experience some suffering in this world, and we want to be free of this world. It's actually something that is self-centered, if we're honest, if we're frank. So here, Lord Chaitanya is saying, I'm not even interested in that. Because that's something pertaining to myself. But the only thing that I want, mama janmani janmanishra, let me take birth again and again, if need be. But bhavatad bhaktir ahaituki tvayi. My only prayer, my Lord, is that I may have pure, unselfish, not unmotivated love for you, my Lord. This is the only thing which I'm praying for. I can be in any situation, I can be in any circumstance, I can be in any environment. Let that all come as it's supposed to come, by karma, or by the will of providence. Let that all be as it is supposed to be. But let me only have this type of pure heart that is fixed upon you, my Lord. And we can understand by that, how exalted such a consciousness is. How fulfilling such a consciousness is, that it makes so many other things appear unimportant. And Lord Chaitanya, he was actually even with, I was saying, like within India, most persons haven't heard of him, but also within Bengal, there's a very mixed understanding of who he is, because he's appreciated by many different persons from different angles of vision, and actually there are some persons, they think of him as a socialist or a communist, because he was quite revolutionary in how he spread his teachings and how he spread this practice of kirtan. And that he disregarded the caste system of India. He, normally these, like in particular, he spread this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And normally these Vedic mantras would only be available to the Brahmin class, to the higher classes. But Lord Chaitanya, he disregarded that, and he spread this to everyone. He would sometimes take to the streets with a group of his followers, and they would move around chanting and dancing and playing instruments. So some people, they see him in that light. There's one expression of his, Naham vipro nachanada patir napi vaisho na shudro naham varni nacha griha patir no vanasto patir va kintu prodyan nikila paramananda purnamrita der Gopi Bartu Parakamala Yor Dasa Dasanudas. And he's listing all the different roles within the Varnashram system of India and saying, I don't identify with any of those things. I'm not a Brahmin, not a Kshatriya, so on and so forth. And then finally he says, I only identify as being the servant of that beautiful Lord Krishna, who is the Lord of the gopis, the damsels of Vrindavan. I only identify with that eternal nature of being a servant of that beautiful, loving, wonderful Lord. So really, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, they are a very, universal application. It is appreciating everyone, within their, according to their eternal nature as a spirit soul, beyond any temporary designation of this world. Whether it's a member of the Varnashram system, or whether it's a citizen of a particular country, or a member of a particular race, or a particular social or economic status. This movement, these teachings, they are going beyond all of that, and there's the appreciation of everyone's divinity, everyone's connection with divinity. So this is a simple introduction to teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Does anyone have a comment or a question at this time? It's a good question. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's everyone has their different path, and in my particular case, this is something that I've been practicing since my childhood, because my parents were practitioners. My parents were followers of Lord Chaitanya, of the Gaudiya Vaishnavism tradition. This is my little sister, so we grew up together. We practiced together. So it's something that I was exposed to from a very early age, and which I was cultivating from an early age. So in that sense, from one perspective, I could say not much changed from in terms of lifestyle and habits and beliefs. It wasn't like there was a dramatic shift. However, in terms of inner transformation, definitely, yes, that has been something drastic. I've experienced how my desires have changed. As a teenager, I desired the same things as everyone else. I thought I was going to get married and finish a degree and get a job and live a normal life. That's what I was thinking, at a certain time. And it was really due to exposure to the saints, and really that means my divine master, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. He was a very exalted saint, and he embodied everything of the teachings of the Vedas. It wasn't just that he taught the Vedic teachings, but he embodied that in everything that he said and everything that he did. In every movement of his, he emanated. It was something that emanated from him. Often he didn't even need to say anything, but just his presence was so powerful. So, really, we consider that to be the greatest attainment of life, to be able to have the association, the company of a genuine saint, because they can actually give us an authentic connection with divinity. It's not just something, I'm here speaking something according to the best of my ability, but in the case of our Gurudev, it was like a current, a divine current that was moving through him. And so I met him on a few occasions. He visited England and also in Italy. He would go on a world tour every year. And it was, because I was exposed to this through my family, then for some years, every year we would have like a week or 2 weeks when we would have his company. And so I feel that the influence of that association, that sadhu sangha, it gradually began to work upon me, and my heart began to transform. And when I was about 18, then I really began to realize, this is my path in life, and I need to devote myself to that. Then when I was 20, I moved to India, and I was there for about 10 years. And in terms of inner transformation, I'm a struggling practitioner. I'm not going to pretend I'm a realized soul. But I do experience that desires have left me. Some desires have left me. I see that shift in heart. Our Gurudev would recommend that every now and again we make an assessment within ourselves. how much we're following the path, how much progress we're making, and sometimes we look back, because in the middle of everything we can feel like nothing's going on, I'm not making any progress, and no matter how much you go, there's always so much more ahead of you, right? But when you take a moment to reflect, you can think, oh, last year I was talking like this, or I was desiring this, or I was doing that, or I treated this person in that way, and now I'm seeing that's changed. That there's been some improvement here. So although no doubt I have so far to go, I can say in honesty that yes, I do see inner transformation taking place by the grace of our divine master and our guardians. Yes, there is some transformation taking place. Definitely. Our Gurudev used to say, I don't want to cheat anybody, and if this was cheating, I would have left it long ago, But what I'm presenting to you, this is something real. This is something genuine. So I feel the same way. That what we received from our spiritual master was something authentic, and I wouldn't be here today if I didn't feel that with full conviction. Although I may not be in complete knowledge of this, I may not be fully living this either. Still, to the best of my ability, I'm trying to follow it, and I'm experiencing the results. Our Gurudev would also say that actually this is what preaching is, that you're, sometimes we think of it as like we have to tell people the way it is, but another way to see it is that, and this is how our Gurudev presented it, is that we are tasting something really good, and we want to share that with other people. This is so nice, I don't want to keep it to myself, but I want to share it with others, So we feel that what we received from our Gurudev is something of the utmost value, that it is a real, tangible, benefit within our lives here and now. And how can we not, try to share that with others in the hope that they can also get something from that. There's different types of avatars. So I was speaking of Yuga avatars, meaning an avatar who comes to propagate the Dharma of the age. There is description of another avatar who appears at the end of the age of Kali, named Kalki. And he comes for the purpose of not a very nice purpose, but you probably know about him. Yeah, finish. Finish it all up. Kali is described as 432,000 years, right? That is mentioned, that 432,000 years. But what did you say? We're only 5,000 years in. Yeah. But our Gurudev, he actually mentioned that, because remember, this is an eternal cycle, right? So he mentioned that it's different. It can be different in different cycles. The ages may be different lengths. So I can't say for sure if it's going to be 432,000 years. I mean, I could just say that and nobody would know if I was wrong. Wouldn't make any difference. But we're just at the beginning. Yeah, things are going to get much worse. Yes. Yeah, and I mean, we're seeing the movement of, like we're seeing what's happening in Australia right now, and all these environmental, it's like things are really speeding up, Wow. Our Gurudev, sorry, were you going to say something?
Just in addition to that, it's just a sort of question of faith in the leaders, really.
Well, the earth is eternal. Is that what you said?
That's a question, yeah.
Oh, well, not exactly. It's an eternal cycle of creation and destruction. So it will be destroyed, but it will again manifest. No, we understand this to be the temporary world. However, we also understand there to be an eternal world, which does not go through all of these cycles. So, as our spirit is eternal, so we understand there to be a world of spirit that is also eternal. And through, purification of the self and connection with the Lord, then the soul may have entrance into that eternal land. But the nature of this world is temporary, yes, and cyclic.
When you said just now that we're at the beginning and it's going to get much worse, that's only if you subscribe to the phenomenal world.
Yeah, that's true.
Spirit,
yes.
And we're on a progressive spiritual growth. It's not going to get worse, it's going to get much better when you let go of the phenomenal world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everything is about consciousness, yes, what you're identifying with. Absolutely.
Which was the last incarnation, you think? Who was the last incarnation?
Who was the last incarnation?
Yes.
You mean most recent?
Most, yes.
Oh, well, we recognize Lord Chaitanya.
Who?
Lord Chaitanya Dev, yes.
See, he was Krishna in Avatar.
Yes, we understand him to be non-different from Krishna, as the Yuga avatar for Kali Yuga.
I came later. How long ago?
500, about 500 years ago.
500 years.
Yeah.
Did he say himself that he incarnated Krishna?
No, he didn't. Some private instances where his divinity became more revealed with his intimate followers, but generally, he was actually in the mood of a devotee, and he was always presenting himself as a devotee, as a follower, as a worshipper of Krishna. However, there are many places in Shastra which we already discussed, and it has been recorded, so you could find it on our YouTube channel. There are places in Shastra which describe Lord Chaitanya as the avatar for Kali Yuga. He's known as a hidden avatar. He's described in a covered way, and he was presenting himself in a hidden way also. He was he was demonstrating what it means to be a devotee of God, and not demonstrating his divinity. So his example is very helpful for us, actually, because he was expressing the mood of a devotee, of a bhakta. Yeah.
The Vedas refer to him, or his existence. The Vedas refer to that.
Yes, we mentioned some citations in the beginning. In the Vishnu there's not a direct mention. In the Vishnu Sahasranam and the Mahabharata, there's a description of the Lord appearing with a golden form, of taking sannyas, which Lord Chaitanya did. Then also throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, there's indication, there's description of the characteristics of the avatar for Kali Yuga. He's not directly mentioned by name, but there are references, there are descriptions of him as the avatar of Kali Yuga, which match up to Lord Chaitanya and his characteristics. No, because there's also Kalki. Yeah, there's also Kalki, yeah. We see moksha as something that will come as a side effect of cultivating a loving relationship with God. That we consider that the attempt to specifically strive for moksha to be something that is actually self-centered. And it's also not the final solution. One can, it's very, very difficult, but one can achieve the position of moksha. One can, and by moksha I mean freedom from the entanglement of karma and this world, birth and death, the freedom from samsara. So one can strive through so many difficult practices to attain that position, and they can. However, the soul ultimately needs a positive engagement. And that positive engagement and constitutional nature is loving relationship with the Lord, offering loving service to the Lord in a relationship of love. So moksha is something that will be, for one who's like living their liberated life in a positive exchange of love with the Lord, moksha is something in the background of their existence. Yes, moksha will take place, but it will take place automatically through that connection of love. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, my thinking or my understanding was like the human being has to do the steps or certain things to attain the moksha, like the final destination to get rid of, birth and death cycles is get the moksha. Once
Yeah.
you get that certain point moksha, I mean, you are near to the God or something like that. But
Yeah, you see, this line of bhakti is actually revolutionary. Within the Vedas, we find two lines of thought. There's the evolutionary line and there's the revolutionary line. So it is like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives teachings of karma yoga, he gives teachings of jnana yoga, dhyana yoga. And then in the 18th chapter, at the conclusion, he says, Sarva dharmam prityaja, mamekam sharanam braja, aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yashami mashucha. He says, give up all types of dharma. Krishna's just told all these different types of dharma, right? And then at the end, he says, forget about all that. Mam ekam sharanam braja. Just take shelter of me. And you'll get everything through that. So this is quite an interesting point, because there are some persons, they see the bhakti path as something for less intelligent people. Or, people who aren't man enough to really follow all the strict practices that lead to moksha. Some people think, oh, that's too easy. It's too easy. But actually, it makes perfect sense, because if we think about it, what is the nature of reality? What is the real purpose of reality? What is at the root? What is at the center of reality? It is God. So if you just go straight to Him, you can bypass all the other things. and it's mentioned in, is it the 12th chapter? There's that verse, Raja Guyam, where that this practice of where Krishna is beginning his teachings of bhakti, and he describes this practice as being hidden, as being very easy. What is it that he said? It's that Raja Guyam. I don't know if anyone remembers that verse. But as very easy and, what is it? It is hidden, it is easy. I can't remember. But he describes it as being for, really those 2 points, I think that's the point I wanted to make. That that he describes it as being very easy and very accessible for everyone, anyone and everyone. You don't need any particular mental power, any particular physical power to perform asanas and hold meditation for long periods of time. So it's very easy and very accessible, but it's also something hidden, because not everyone can appreciate it, that how it actually is. Oh, and also the highest, that was the third point, that it's very hidden, it's very easy, and it's also the highest, the supreme yoga. So it's quite an interesting combination that you have going here. It's too easy for some people. Oh no, this is for babies. I'd rather go for the tough stuff, But if we also think about it, like, who are we? we are not this body, we are not this mind. So what you can achieve with your body or mind, that's not pertaining to your true self. What is the nature of the center of existence? It is God. And how can we connect with God? Really, through love. Our path is the path of mercy. What can we actually do, like, to impress Him? Whatever yogic feats we can perform, it's still nothing in front of Him, So therefore, we put a lot of emphasis on Sharanagati, the path of surrender, where we are trying to attract the mercy of the Lord. So our understanding is that according to, first of all, we can say the Vedas, they present two lines of progress, Aroha Panta and Avaroha Panta. There's the Aroha Panta, means through the ascending method. Avaroha means the descending. So the ascending method means trying to make progress through one's own endeavor, which is what you're describing, through one's own practices, through one's own efforts, trying to achieve a position beyond this world, right? However, according to our understanding, that's as far as you can go. You can reach a position within the plane of consciousness, within the plane of soul, beyond this world, this karmic world. However, we also recognize, we understand there to be a third plane of existence. We understand there to be, and this is something, again, that is vague in the Vedas. The Vedas are vague, actually, in terms of what is the goal of life. But we understand, on the basis of the research that's been done by the sadhus in our line, that there is a third plane of existence, which is a positive and dynamic plane. There is like a spiritual counterpart to this material world of variety. So our understanding is that through the Avaroha Panta, through the descending line of attracting descending mercy and grace in the cultivation of love and humility and all of these qualities of surrender, that one can achieve entrance into that third plane of life, the positive, dynamic, variegated spiritual existence. So that's where we're coming from.
But as a human being, it's our duty to reach on that, either one of these three stages of...
Yes, as a human being, but what if you're trying to act in terms of your eternal existence as a spirit soul? Of course, we cannot deny the necessity to engage with this world. So we understand that everyone has two dharmas, really. Their dharma within the relativity of this world. You have to take care of yourself and your family and so on and so forth. So that will be like one's relative dharma. But then there's also the absolute consideration, that we are eternal spiritual beings, and our soul has another necessity that is not pertaining to these dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So both have to be cultivated side by side. So like Nitai, he lives here in Southampton, and he has a beautiful family, and he has to work and take care of his family, take care of himself. But at the same time, he's also nurturing that absolute consideration. He's engaging in spiritual and devotional practices, sometimes by himself, with his family, sometimes coming to our ashram, giving attention to that other dharma, that eternal dharma. I think whatever you're doing, you should do it authentically. And once you're if you're meant to go to another level of truth, then it will happen. If you're authentic in your practice, then you will be brought to another layer of truth. When you're ready for it. So I mean, what we see in Gita, that is an authentic line of development. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, Ashtanga yoga, that's an authentic line of progress. So some persons may need to complete, their course in karma yoga before they go to jnana yoga, before they go to Ashtanga. This is where we're coming from, before they go to Ashtanga Yoga, before they go to Bhakti Yoga. So you may go through Karma Yoga, then go through Jnana Yoga, then go through Ashtanga Yoga, and then feel, now I'm attracted to Bhakti. You may experience some minor progress like that, you know. But, you know, I'm not here today to tell you what's right, what's wrong, what you should or shouldn't do. What I would just say to you is do whatever you're doing authentically. You know, wherever your heart is pulling you, you know, go there. If there is some basis on Shastra for where your heart is pulling you, then go for that. You know, in the Manu Samhita, there's a very helpful verse in this regard. Vidvad bi sevitashad bir nityam advesha ragibi hridya yena byanugyato yo dharmastam nibodhata. That you should know Dharma to be that which is described in the Shastra, in the Veda, which is practiced by self-realized souls, by sadhus. And it describes the nature of those sadhus, nityam advesha ragibi, who are free from this duality of this world of aversion and attraction. You know, attachment, detachment, rejection. These are the two things that are normally. So from those type of real sadhus, you know, if they're giving their certificate to this path, then you can take it as true, as Dharma. And hridya yena byanugyato. And this is a really beautiful point, that your heart will also give some confirmation. So on these 3 points, that it's verified by Shastra, it's verified by the sadhus, the living Shastra, and it is verified by your own heart, you know, then follow that. You know, the whole of the Shastra is there for a purpose. You know, we feel that we have come to what is the conclusion of the teaching of the Shastra. But we're not saying everyone has to do this and only this. You know, it's all existing for a purpose. You know, we're not rejecting the Veda. You know, so if you feel a pull to a particular path given in the Veda, then do it. But just do it authentically. You know, do it with sincerity and with integrity. You know, and be confident that the result will be good. You know, and if you're meant to go to another path after that, it will naturally take place. It will be something natural. The Lord will reveal himself to you. If he sees that you are sincerely seeking after him, with purity of heart, with sincere intention, he will come to meet you. He will come in response to that. So, yeah, but I do feel it's important you give, you know, do it wholeheartedly, do it with sincerity, you know, and then, you know, as an outcome of that, you will naturally be brought to another path if that's what's supposed to be.
Just wanting to understand whether what I said, whether that's correct or whether you agree about this kind of 2-option thing. What's your moksha?
Well, first of all, the word moksha, there are 2 conceptions of moksha. There's moksha, which just means to be, you know, merged with the divine, within this plane of non-differentiated consciousness, and Brahma, right? Brahman. There's that type of moksha. And then there's another type of moksha, which we consider to be superior, which is having entrance within a dynamic, variegated plane of divinity. You know? And yes, it is definitely true that some souls, they will have the special delegation to come to this world. No, we don't consider Lord Chaitanya to be what we would call a jiva soul, like another living spirit soul. We consider him to be Bhagavan, of the Bhagavan category. And so, yes, the Lord. We have one beautiful book that was compiled from the talks of our grandfather Guru, called "Loving Search for the Lost Servant." the full title was The Lord's Loving Search for the Lost Servant. So we understand that although the Lord, Bhagavan, has everything, he still has some pains within his heart for the lost souls of this world. And so for that reason, he descends from time to time in various avatars in order to call the souls back, So sometimes the Lord himself will come, and in other cases, the Lord may send somebody, a special delegated soul, or there may be some particular souls who feel that pull within them. So yes, that there is that, yes. I haven't heard it as being so like black and white. Every soul has the choice, because they're also doing it. There's we think of ourselves as being Sevites, as being servitors, and so there's different types of seva. So this is one seva to try to help the people of this world, but there's also so much seva within that eternal plane, which is also being performed, for the satisfaction of the Lord. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Just tell us about the Mahamantra and how you can help this.
The Mahamantra, okay. Well, the Mahamantra is given in different places in the Shastra. And it is, there's actually as no doubt many of you know, there's actually a Mahamantra given for every particular age, for each of the 4 ages. There is a particular mantra which is given as the supreme mantra for that age. So this mantra is described, this Mahamantra, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is described as the Mahamantra for this age of Kali. However, it is also described as being the Mahamantra of all Mahamantras, because it is the most complete expression of divinity. Because in this, our understanding of, there's different understandings of the Mahamantra, and this is what our teachers have given as a hidden, esoteric meaning of the Mahamantra, that it is actually referring to, calling upon both the female aspect of divinity as well as the male aspect. So both the Lord and his potency, the Shakti of the Lord is also included within this Mahamantra. And that this Hare is actually a reference to Radharani, the female potency, the female consort of Krishna. So it is a call upon what we understand to be the fountainhead of all other avatars, all other expressions of divinity, and both, the Lord and his energy. And it is also grammatically couched in the vocative case, which means that it is actually calling them. It's actually grammatically structured so that it is a call upon them to Sri Sri Radha Krishna, calling for their mercy, for their grace, for their affection. And so, Lord Chaitanya's advice is that we chant this mantra as much as possible, all the time, in congregation, alone, mentally, verbally. There's, like with Gayatri mantras, there's some restrictions, right? Time of day, how clean you are, and so on, and what you're wearing, so on, which direction you're facing, so on and so forth. But with this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, there's no restriction. Any time, any place, anywhere, it can be called upon. And so then also we can add that in particular Sankirtan, this congregational form of chanting, it is more powerful, it has more potency. So maybe we can conclude with a little more chanting of the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Thank you all so much. You've been such a sympathetic audience, and very lovely to meet all of you.